Okay. At this point, I am going to mute everyone. We are going to remain muted while the tutor will do justice to the cause. And this night is another night of general course, which is a research method. And then we know those that will be coming late, they will meet us while we have gone. So at this point, we are going to start, and we have our tutor right in the house, and he will be doing justice to the research. Let's listen carefully as he is going to start so that we can get everything from A to Z. Like I told you yesterday, the uploading of the recorded version might not be as regular as we expect, because we want everybody to come on board and get the reality from the tutorial, so that they will not only bench on the recording uploaded until they will not come. And if they are not coming, the aim of this arrangement will be defeated. So in view of that, find your way, try your way to attend all your classes, both your major and the core, so that because the position of listening to the lecture is quite different from listening after or hearing from the third party. So today we have another erudite in the house, and it's like network has taken him away, but he is coming, and as soon as he's here now, he is starting, because we are starting already. But this is our network embarrassment. So by name is Emeka Alaku. So he is the one that will be teaching, that will be tutoring us tonight. And I believe we are going to feel at home, because he knows what is going to be downloading. And by virtue of whatever, I know I will not bring somebody who will not do justice to any of those courses to you, because it's like the network has taken him away, but he will be in right away. Immediately he comes, he will start. So we need to remain muted. After the class, I will open up, and then we can ask any question we want to ask. Today is not going to be like yesterday again. Today is both the tutors and then the Q&A. You can ask any question for more clarification after the class. So we're going to have enough time for ourselves. The new timetable, you are going to get more information when the new timetable is out. Thank you so much as we wait for him. So, Emeka, you can unmute yourself now and start. Unmute yourself and start.
So good evening, class.
Go ahead, go ahead. Nobody can talk now. I've muted, I've first mute until after your lecture so that there will be no interruption from the background. You can go ahead. Hello, Emeka? Hello?
Tonight will be
okay.
So as we get on, as we get along, we'll see how far we can go. First of all, the course on research methodology is actually supposed to be research methods and computer application. But we will be laying more emphasis on the aspect of research, and then the aspect of computer application is supposed to educate us on those areas of research techniques and data analysis that are done using the computer system. Such um, such techniques or skill or computer applications like the SPSS, particularly for us who are in the social sciences. I'm sure we are familiar with SPSS as a computer application for statistics or for data analysis, which is called the statistic package for social sciences. But however, we will not be looking at this area. We'll be interested and we'll cover the aspect that concerns research in itself. And so we'll be doing two things, like I said earlier. We'll be ready knowledge-wise. We'll be ready skilled-wise. Knowledge-wise, it will cover for our exams and it will cover for future demands. As postgraduate students, it is expected that we be knowledgeable in research. That is why all the papers you are required to present is expected that you do that on a research base. Because as postgraduate students, we are supposed to be researchers. And especially the PhD students, if not for the modifications in the NUC policy, PhD students are not supposed to be taking lectures, are supposed to be research-based, directly going to the field. But however, for the sake of re-equipping your knowledge, the NUC modification came in and said, okay, both PhD students will go back to classroom. And that is why we're having such a coursework like research method. So what is research as we begin in earnest? What is research? We would have used the word intermittently, some will use them consistently, some of us use them in our everyday life. Some of us hardly use the word, but today, being postgraduate students, it has become a part of our vocabulary. But then, what does it mean when we say research? I will start by saying, from the layman perspective, research is to find out. Research is to dig deep. Research is to uncover. Research is to both expose and espouse. Research is also to produce knowledge. However, these layman classifications of definition will all become an embodiment of the conception of research in itself. Research is both the skill and the process of investigation to develop knowledge on what little or nothing is known about, both the skill and the process of developing knowledge on what little or nothing is known about. It is little or nothing because in research there is explorative aspect of research, and then there is the investigative aspect of research. We use the concept little or nothing because there is almost nothing that research had not been carried out on. There's almost nothing that individuals are not aware of. But the problem will be that how much knowledge do we have? How indebted in knowledge are we regarding a circumstance, a situation, an event, or uh, a phenomenon? That is why we said little, because some of us might have a particular knowledge that differ from what someone else know, and to some others they might not know as much. And then nothing in the sense that there are certain things that some of us don't have information over. These things might be in existence, but nothing is known about them. Let's take, for instance, the moringa plant. Only recently, within the last decade, became very popular. It became popular because there was a research carried out on it. Now, prior to the research that was conducted on the medical efficacy of moringa, little was known about the moringa leaf or the moringa plant. And what was known was that it could be a vegetable. In Nigeria, for instance, majority of the northerners, Hausa Fulani in particular, use moringa for what is called zogele. They make some kind of vegetable meal from it. That is the much that was known about it. And some other parts of the society, what people know would be that moringa can serve as a vegetable. But little did we know that moringa had better to offer than just serving as our dining table meal. Moringa became a toast of the world when the medical research findings were released. And it was stated that both the root, the stem, the leaves, the seeds, everything about moringa was medical in nature. And then the demand for it became so high because more is now known about it. And this is what research is about. Little was known earlier, eventually more became known because an investigation was done, because a finding out was done, because an exploration was carried out. Now, we would say that our knowledge had been bettered. We would say knowledge was developed on the little or nothing that was known about moringa. I tell you the truth, there are certain people who only in the last decade became aware of the existence of such plants. Some people never knew it was existing. Or some people will see it as just a tree, like every other tree. So that is research for us. However, research is beyond the conception we have given. We have said, I go back to the definition I gave earlier, that it is the skill and the process of developing knowledge on what little or nothing is known about. And I said that, however, research is way beyond this conception in practical terms. It is way beyond this conception in application, in that there is need for skill acquisition, for knowledge development on what research is about, what it entails, what the types of research are, and what methodologies applicable to certain types of research, and what forms of analysis are suitable for certain forms of research. Now, as we go along, we're going to expose ourselves and get us prepared beyond the coursework to our research, thesis, and dissertation writing. It is the knowledge you will gather added to what you had before from the undergraduate level and from different professional courses or other postgraduate courses that we would have undertaken. We want to re-equip our knowledge to get you prepared ahead of time for your thesis and dissertation. Now, majority of us will go into our thesis and dissertation picking topics randomly. Now, when we pick topics randomly, we might not be aware of what type of research is expected from that topic we have chosen. For instance, somebody might be going into carrying out a research on um, on INEC and the effectiveness of of the electoral body on the conduct of elections. Now, such a person, not knowing what type of research that is, might apply a wrong methodology. It could be that a methodology that is necessary or that is required for an exploratory research, you are using or utilizing such methodology for an explanatory research or for an experimental research. In doing so, the result of the research will, of course, not be effectively applicable to the society. There will be a whole lot of limitations and shortfalls. So that is why we need to understand that beyond just having this knowledge that it is a process of investigation, we must be aware of the various types. We must be aware of its forms. We must be aware of the methodologies. We must be aware of the requisite analysis that are applicable to certain forms of research. I hope we have communicated to some sort so far. Now, as we proceed, having refreshed our knowledge or provided an insight on what research is, we will be looking at why is it relevant to conduct research. Why is research relevant? Why is it necessary for you as a postgraduate student to garner the knowledge as it relates to research? Now, research is essential in various ways. First, knowledge development depends solely on research. I take that again. Knowledge development depends solely on research. One of the major challenges we have as a country and one of the biggest challenge the country faces in terms of having knowledge on our society and the various factors limiting the progress of our society is because of the lowest ebb of research system that we have in our educational institutions, in our research agencies. The levels of research that are undertaken in these areas can be argued to be less than 10%. Of course, you know that even in the budgetary provision for education in itself is less than the United Nations 26% requirement. How much more research on its own? So research is a critical aspect to knowledge development. That is why you are not just being educated on conducting or on the subject matter of research because you are offering a course, research methods and computer application. No, we are getting set a group of people who would in the nearest of future on we have said that one, research is essential because knowledge depends on research. Then two, research and the knowledge you will gather from it is relevant in institutionalizing knowledge that has been gathered. And one of the problems we have in our society also is that a whole lot of research has been conducted, but little of these research and the knowledge that have been gathered are enough in terms of being institutionalized. A lot of papers have been written, a lot of recommendations have been made, research based recommendations. But little amongst these recommendations have successfully been institutionalized. There are 1,001 documents probably lying fallow at the National Assembly from research based knowledge that people had gathered, developed knowledge, articulated them, presented them to the lawmakers for them to debate and evolve a system that can better our society. But nothing or little have been done regarding these things. So research is important in institutionalization process. What do we mean when we say institutionalization? We mean that knowledge becomes embedded on the system. It means that knowledge or recommendations that have been proffered regarding an issue, regarding a challenge, regarding certain problems in society must be embedded into society to solve these problems. We're lagging in these areas, and of course, that is why we are where we are today. So, research is beyond writing an exam and passing it. Research is an embodiment of skill. Research is a total package process for solving problems. However, these requires skill and requisite knowledge in application. There are two broad range of broad categories of research. They are quantitative and qualitative research. Two broad categories of research, quantitative and qualitative. But as we go on this course, I will be letting us into three categories of research. The third being one that you might not find on most of the handouts you see flying around. The third you might not see on certain textbooks. The third one is only being developed in recent time because knowledge is becoming wider and more elaborate. We'll be looking at first quantitative research, we'll be looking at qualitative research, or we'll be looking at mixed method research. I take them again, the three basic or forms or categories of research are one, quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method research. But before we go into these basic forms, I want to expose us to the classification of research in terms of field activity. This will help us to understand a lot when we begin to write or talk about those three broad categories. In, in all of the categories of research we'll be looking at, there are four things that stand out that you will end up doing in every research you undertake, whether quantitative, whether qualitative, whether mixed method. The central aim of either of these three categories is to develop enough knowledge relevant in addressing the problem that influence the conduct of that research. Central to conducting research, whether quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method, is that knowledge must be developed that is relevant enough to address the problems that had first influenced that research process. Now, I said four things must occur. It's either you are exploring, or you are explaining, or you are describing, or you are evaluating. Or let's take a fifth process. Then it would also be experimenting. I take them again. Five things must happen within the corridors of your research process. One, exploration. Two, explanation. Three, description. Four, evaluation. And five, experimental. Please, I want to urge the class rep to unmute some people so that we can take reactions so far. 20 minutes down the line, how well have we communicated? How good is the understanding? Let's get a feedback before we proceed.
Okay, so anybody can, Oya, you can mute yourself and talk if you want. If you have anything to talk, Oya, go ahead.
Hello, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, like what I'm able to understand so far is the meaning of research. As a researcher, you are going there, you are going to the field to discover, to explore, like as he has said. It's just like if you want to go for oil exploration, you have an aim. So as a researcher, you have a purpose, you have an aim for what you want to do. So by the time you go out there, then you start exploring. So when you get to the field where you want to find out where you want to do your researching, then you explore. The way you do your exploration, you solve a problem. And what is the problem? You want to know something. You want to understand something, and that is why you go out to the field. Then by the time you get it, the problem has been solved. What do I mean? What you want to know, like as the speaker has spoken, you want to develop your knowledge. You want to develop yourself. And that is why when you are going out, you must be determined. You must have all the necessary things you need to carry out your exploration, to carry out your research. You have to, I think, oh my God. I don't know. It's
Okay, thank you, Madam Sandra. Can we get someone else? You have done well. That's some good understanding.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. We are with you.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
No, mine is not a question. You said that there are you earlier said there are 4 themes, okay, that stands out. Is that what you said? I want to get that. There are 5. Okay, you said at first you said 4 things that stands out, and you later added 1, and you said exploring, experimenting, explaining. I'm yet to get the 2, please. That's what I just want to to get. Did you get what I said, please?
Yes, I do.
You made mention
Yes.
of 5 things that stands out. Hello.
Yes. Yes, I'm with you. I got that. I got that clearly.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Please.
Okay, so I'll take them again. I said.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take them again. 5 things stands out in the course of your research. Explorating, or when you say exploration, explanation, description, evaluation, and experimentation. Is that okay now? I will explain all of those after this feedback session. I will continue from there in explaining what each of them mean while you are on your research process.
Okay.
Hello,
So
sir.
thank you. Yes.
Please, I would like to understand the difference between the 3 categories of research and the types of research. What are the differences?
Okay. Would address that too when we begin to talk about them in details. When we begin to discuss them in details, the quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method research, we'll look at the differences that that these forms of research are about, and we'll look at the similarities, and then we'll tell how each of them can be applied differently. There are certain research types that requires a quantitative method. There are certain research interests that requires qualitative. There are others that require mixed method. So we'll address all of that. Just stay on with us.
Why I asked the question is because our lecturer taught us those ones under processes and classification. So under it, we have the quantitative, we have the qualitative, we have the case study, we have the statistical research and the rest. But in your own, you mentioned 3. So I want to understand, are they different from these processes of classification of research, or I don't know, I'm lost. Just explain further.
I get your point now, but let me address that also very quickly. It depends on terminologies. But when your lecturers say there are processes, we are going to end up at the same end. Because at the end of the day, what you are doing and how you are doing it is dependent on whether you are uh, using a quantitative, a qualitative, a mixed method research. Other categories that he mentioned, like the case study, they will come fused under either of these 3. But his usage of process or classification would also take us to same destination. And I mean same destination when I say at the end of the day, you will understand what quantitative research is. You will also understand what qualitative research is. And you understand what I mean by mixed method. And remember, I said earlier that mixed method is something that you cannot find everywhere. I'm only bringing this up because it is a form of categorizing research that is now developing. And most emphasis are moving to mixed method research. Majority of us who are policy makers, who are data analysts, who become researchers would encounter these things, and it is essential that you begin to acquire this knowledge. So we'll address all of that. So if Dr. Carey had used processes, I'm using categories, we're going to end up telling you the various forms of research types within each of these broad categories. I hope that's well taken.
Yes, please.
It's all right. Okay, so we'll suspend this. We have gotten some good feedback. Shall we will continue the class? So we can add some more knowledge.
And I want to respond to our questions.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, this classification and forms, they are analyzed. They have been analyzed by different professionals in sociology. And when Dr. Carey was talking about the classification, he specifically chose one of the authors whom he said he preferred his own categories or classification. So it does not mean that that is the only ways of classifying the forms or the type of research. So we have to be very attentive so that because when you pick up another textbook, you are still going to see different ways of classifying research, but at the end of the day, everything goes and just like you said. So if we have listened, it's not as if it's a different thing, but a different person decides the ones to use, just like the ones you are saying. Now, it does not mean that you are going in different way or Dr. Carey is going in different way. No, it depends on the person that each teachers or tutors want to subscribe to his or her own form of expression. I think that is just the difference. Is not as if there is the content differ. The contents are still the same thing. That is my contribution.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you
Mr. Paul.
very, very much. Well spoken, Mr. Paul. So shall we continue?
Yes, yes.
All right. So Before the feedback session, I spoke about this or the features of a research process. That is what every research entails. Now, I'm bringing this in also because it will be essential for us to understand what we will be doing when we begin to do our dissertations and thesis. Why I'm saying this is because some of us will pick topics that we wouldn't even understand what the processes are about that topic. There are some topics you select or that you are interested in and wouldn't understand that what you end up doing in the process of that research could be explorative. While at the basement of your knowledge, you will think that you are supposed to be doing an experimentation. So it is essential that we do these clarifications for us to be highly knowledgeable in this aspect as well. And beyond your dissertations and theses, as we go further as researchers, as professionals, as learned men and women, we must contribute in the most eloquent manner and in the right knowledge capacity. Now, when we say exploration, some research processes are explorative in nature. What do we mean by exploration? By exploration, we mean that those forms of research would produce knowledge that are deeper than what already is in existence knowledge wise. To explore is to uncover. To explore is relatively to innovate. As a matter of fact, to explore produces the capacity for invention. Exploration also helps the process of innovation. How many of us know how the AK-47 rifle was formed? How many of us know, we have heard or read on literatures how the aircraft was invented? You see, the people who invented these things undertook some research processes. Nothing was known about an object that could fly the level of height above sea level like an aircraft until the brothers who undertook the research discovered that the height above the ground has a capacity and the gravitational force above the sea level have the capacity to uphold objects for certain number of hours. Now, because nothing whatsoever was known regarding this thing, what these guys did, or this form of research, is what we regard as an explorative process. We must ensure that while undertaking a research, we understand whether we are doing an exploration or otherwise. If it is an exploration, there are conditions of research that are attached to these things. I hope that time will be able to permit us to dissect all of these things one after the other. The processes of undertaking a research that is explorative is different from a research that is explanatory. So explorative research looks critically at producing knowledge from an in-depth perspective, from the very core, from the very foundation of knowledge. It is an inventory type of knowledge or inventory types of knowledge development as far as research is concerned. Now, the other concept is explanatory. This is the aspect where most students rely on, and they do what we call in our local parlance, magu magu or boju boju. It is easy because it is not indebted in knowledge. It is easy because it is not as inventory as no as exploratory research process. Explanatory research deals highly with what we regard as providing understanding on causes and effects of a phenomenon, providing understanding on the causes and effects of a phenomenon. So explanatory research can be peripheral and may not be evolving a fresh knowledge. It can be relying on existing knowledge to espouse better. But the ultimate aim is that the researcher undertaking a research process that involves an explanatory process would be able to tell what causes a phenomenon to exist and what the effect of the existence of that phenomenon is to individuals or to society. Mind you, let me throw our minds back that research in itself has several um, aspects, especially as it relates to different fields of endeavor. For us in the social sciences, we are more and particularly interested in what we call social research. Social research is those concerns of research that borders on societal issues, on social concerns, on the very fabrics of human existence, society, and the process of development. That is social research. So I just that came into my mind and I tried to share that. So our interest in the social sciences is on social research. And I say social research covers or borders on those aspects that are societal in nature. It is interested in the things that are concerns or relates to human existence, the society and development of human society at large. So back to our point, or on those five factors that are entailed in a research process. We have said explorative research is an in-depth form, is an inventory form, it's a foundational form of knowledge development. Secondly, we are saying explanatory research provides knowledge on cause and effect of a phenomenon. For instance, a lot of us will look at corruption as one of the bane of our society. But then again, we are still trying to understand what causes corruption and what are the effects of corruption. Of course, we can see so much of the effects of corruption in our society, but we have not been able to understand what are these factors that are causing corruption. There are certain deliberating statements or certain statements negative in nature about the Nigerian society, where they say even the unborn child in Nigeria is corrupt by default. If that is anything to go by, it is because we are yet to understand the causative factors for corruption. Corruption is a social phenomenon. So, undertaking such kind of research, the person is expected to come out with results that explains the cause of that phenomenon that has been investigated and the effect it has. Explanatory. What are the causes of the forms of social ills in our society? Today, the Nigerian society is broadly insecure. What has caused this current challenge? What is the effect of these menace on our society, on the individuals, on the economy of the state? These are explanatory research. The third factor we'll be looking at is descriptive research. It is essential in research. Um, by next semester, we'll be doing a course called Sociology of Knowledge. In that course, we will be talking about how knowledge came into existence or how knowledge is formed. Now, why my mind went there is because descriptive aspects of research is very, very critical for us to be able to understand conceptions, as it were. There are different forms of concepts. We have what we call abstract concepts. Mind you, when I say concept, I mean names or tag on phenomenon. Now, these names or tags have different forms. They can be abstract, they can be concrete. Now, it is descriptive research that helps us identify concrete and abstract nature of phenomena because descriptive research provides features and characteristics of a research, of a phenomenon, sorry to say. I take that again. Descriptive research provides knowledge on features and characteristics of a phenomenon with the aim of identification. It is because a research was undertaken that developed a descriptive understanding. That is why when we now see a moringa leaf, we can identify it. When we see a moringa plant, we can identify it. When we see soils, we can identify which is a loamy soil, which is a clay soil, which is a sandy soil because of the features and characteristics of this phenomenon. That is what descriptive research entails. Now, some of us, again, will be undertaking research in our dissertations and thesis, and there are certain aspects of description that will be required of us. Take, for instance, some of us might be doing a research on poverty and maybe socioeconomic events of society. Now, poverty as a concept is an abstract concept. It is abstract because we can't touch poverty. we can't hold poverty, but we can feel poverty, we can see poverty. Now, when you describe poverty, people should be able to identify it by looking at certain things. Now, let me give you a critical example. When you go to the Middle East, say war-torn areas like Somalia, these areas where the people have been, the society have been devastated by war and different crises. There are people in those society where by men looking at them physically, they have protruding tummy, they are skeletal yet with protruding tummy, where their ribs can be counted from their physical appearance with a larger skull. These people have been ravaged by poverty because if they see even a drop of water, it becomes heaven on earth. If you see such people and use that description for poverty, you might be right. But if you come to Nigeria and you walk through the street of Abuja, you might meet somebody who is a classical definition of poverty, but without those physical attributes. Now, descriptive research will be able to expose exactly what a situation is. It will tell exactly what we mean when we say this is this. It will be different from we saying when you go to Somalia, poverty is this, when you come to Nigeria, poverty is this. I hope we know that in Nigeria, a poor man who have not eaten for a whole day can be well dressed. We call it packaging. At night, these people sleep under the bridge, but during the day, they are the best looking guys. So descriptive research would be able to give us a critical understanding as to what is what. What can we say this is in practical terms because of the features and characteristics. Then, okay, and let me bring this in quickly. When I say research constitute technique, when I say poverty in Somalia is different from poverty in Nigeria, it can be well researched by applying the most appropriate methodology and instrument. If you use a camera as your instrument for data collection, sorry, we'll get to these things later, much later, where I will explain much better. We might not, some of us might not understand what we mean by instrument of data collection, but I'm very sure a whole lot of us will know what we mean by that. But however, we'll still look at that. But when I say when we use camera as an instrument for data collection in measuring poverty, and you are doing a cross-sectional survey, cross-sectional survey is collecting same data from different society and doing a comparison. Cross-sectional. Let's say, for instance, we're going to be cross-examining poverty in Nigeria and that of Somalia. And the researcher uses camera as its instrument. The result that camera will give to us will be deceptive because camera will capture that caricatured looking child or person that is poor in Somalia, but a Nigerian poor person will be well dressed. So it will be a thing of knowledgeability for the researcher to combine two instruments to say, since I have an idea that there's what is called packaging in Nigeria, I'd rather use a questionnaire in measuring poverty in Nigeria, while I use camera in measuring poverty in Somalia. This will help me get the knowledge that I can use to describe what poverty really is. At the end of the day, the researcher will come up to the point that poverty in Nigeria and poverty in Somalia are the same, because the person in Nigeria and the person in Somalia both live below the poverty line. Only that the categories of poverty can differ. We have what we call absolute poverty or what we call relative poverty. I hope I've been able to communicate effectively. So descriptive aspect of research entails features and characteristics. Then evaluative research or evaluation. When we talk about evaluation, we're looking at the effectiveness, the efficiency, or otherwise of policies and institutions of society. I take that again. Evaluation in research entails understanding the effectiveness, the efficiency, or the otherwise of a policy or institution in society. When I spoke about INEC in the first place, INEC is an institution in our society. Somebody who is carrying out a research on INEC would be doing that in an evaluation capacity, because INEC is an institution. Any form of research where the person is looking at the effectiveness or of an institution or of a policy or the efficiency. I hope you know that there's a huge difference between effectiveness and efficiency. Something can be effective and might not be efficient. Something can be efficient and might not be effective. Let me clarify that very quickly. During the NSAS protest, in Abuja, for instance, if, or let me just say on a general perspective, when there is a crowd of protesters, for instance, and the police comes to the scene and releases tear gas on the protesters, it might end the protest at that point. That is an efficient way of solving that problem, but it is not an effective way of solving the problem. Okay, take for instance the problems ASU have had with governments in Nigeria. Negotiations upon negotiations will efficiently end ASU strike, but does not effectively address the problem. That is why it becomes a recurring event, a recurring challenge. So when you are doing a research and you're looking at either the effectiveness of a policy or an institution, or the efficiency of a policy or an institution, or whether this policy or institution or policies and institutions are not effective or are not efficient, you are doing evaluation. When President Muhammadu Buhari leaves, we will begin to evaluate the change agenda policy. How effective was this policy? Or how efficient was the policy? In doing that, we'll be doing an evaluative research. There is a research recently conducted where I was part of, and we were looking at the effectiveness of the what is this program again? The program that entails the Shopee and other Empower programs. Um, when I get the title, I hope to recall that. That program, as instituted by the President Muhammadu Buhari government, is a policy system. When anybody is trying to evaluate how, for instance, Empower has been able to address youth restiveness or unemployment, then that person is expected to be coming out with evaluative results. That is what we mean by evaluation. Then experimentation. In research, there is always the involvement of variables. Variables must be a part of every process of research. Now, when you are looking at measuring the relationship between variables, when you look at measuring the relationship between two or more variables, you'll be doing an experimental research. Experimental research expects you to, to develop results of correlation, to develop results of relationship. However, this again brings about the technique involved in research. Somebody who is undertaking an experimental research and does not do hypothesis testing in at the end of the research would end up giving a vague result. And when a person is doing hypothesis testing, rather than use a chi-square, a person goes to use gamma or lambda, the person would also bring about a vague result. So these are the techniques that are involved in research processes. Or say, for instance, rather than do to tell us the extent of the relationship, and the person is on a 3 by 2 column table, is doing a phi coefficient rather than a contingency coefficient. These are the techniques. We must understand all of these things. That is the essence of this class. I hope we have been able to gather something tonight. So I'll give us a feedback because we are going to relatively end here tonight to take some questions. Since this is the first class, I don't intend to heap us with so much knowledge. We'll have to digest what we have.
Unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself. Okay, yeah.
So can we take questions, please?
Yes. Anybody?
Class. We'll stop here in our lecture series.
Yes, you can unmute yourself, raise your hand. If you have question, observation, you can now raise your hand now and unmute yourself and go ahead. The floor is open and you have been allowed to unmute yourself now. So go ahead. I think Kabiru Sani, you raised your hand before. Unmute yourself now and ask your question. Kabiru Sani, unmute yourself.
Okay, maybe there are no questions. I think the class have well understood what we have done.
No, I don't think so. They will ask questions.
Say silent is consent.
No, they will ask questions. Please, can you raise your hand, please? One hand is up. Madam Sandra, unmute yourself.
Myself now. Okay. I want to appreciate this lecturer. He says his lecturing is very, very coherent, well understood.
Correct.
This is the kind of lecturer who explained to me. I really, really understand because I have one of my little small who is a master's also. She's happy because she's also learning also. So this is the kind of lecturer we are looking for in our society. Guy, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very
Keep it
much.
up.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma. Okay, Kabiru Sani, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Very
Yes,
well.
loud and clear.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear
Yes,
you.
please go ahead.
I can't hear you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very loud. Okay, I think he's having issue with his audio, and
Yes,
another
please,
person can go
let's take
ahead.
Emanuela.
Alapa, no, Alapa is on top of Emanuela. Alapa, unmute yourself, please. Alapa, unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the lectures. I so much enjoyed it. And God will bless you, sir. Please, sir, I want to ask this question. When you're talking about the effect of a phenomenon on something,
yes,
are you looking at it as trying to explain or describe, or you are evaluating?
Okay, if you since you are looking at effect, and I have said already that any research that requires you to produce knowledge on causes and effects, it means you are explaining. You get that, Alapa? When you are explaining a phenomenon, you'll be telling us what causes that phenomenon
And the effect it has on the people. Hello, I can hear you, sir. Hello, sir.
It's coming, maybe it's network.
Okay, sir.
to exist and what the effect of that phenomenon is. Is that okay?
Okay, so it's an explanatory research, sir.
Yes, very well.
Okay, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, Emanuela, what happened to your hand? Emanuela, unmute yourself and go ahead. Why did you drop your hand? Unmute yourself, Emanuela.
It's Patricia, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
God bless you, sir. I really understand now.
Amen. Thank you so much.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, no other person, no hands is up. That means this our Oga has done really justice to this cause, and we are looking forward to more, so that you will be able to finish up everything about research for us, the method, the instrument of collecting data and everything. We will break them down for us. Since we are catching everybody that are catching up the explanation. So we really appreciate you. And this one that there is no questions, how I wish you can continue to cover up the next for the next 37 minutes. But I believe you should be tired now because of the strength. So
okay, I appreciate us and I appreciate the level of understanding, but however, learning is also about quality and not about quantity. Let's not, because of the stake of our exam, so much in a day. There's just so much we can do, but I believe that probably with 2 or 3 other classes, we'll be able to cover up. Believe it is fine, but let us digest what we have, go to bed with this, reminisce on them, and wake up soundly in knowledge and understanding.
That would be great. And thank God that we are going to have more than 3 because our time, our exam has been shifted a bit. So by the grace of God, we are going to tie your leg, hold your leg tight until you finish. When you finish, you go back again and again, so that even if we did not read materials, we can write all our exams, listening to what you have been teaching us in the hall. We replay it while in the hall writing exam. I know it is more functional sometimes. Thank you so much once again. We are sincerely grateful, and till the next class. God bless you, sir.
Thank you so much. You have a blessed night ahead to us all.
Yeah, thank you. So, class, I think today is good. So we can call it a day now. When by tomorrow before we are going to get the timetable for tomorrow class. Thank you all, and God bless you.